Welcome back to Super Foam Flying on HJN, and for this instance I would like to hopefully talk a bit about a Mega Blaster released in 2016 known as the Lightning Bow. As we can see right here, it's basically just a bow that has been made for the Mega line. Well, not the first iteration of a Mega Dart bow out there. The Thunder bow out there was the first, but here we have ourselves the second. And let's just mention real quick that the Thunder bow itself was probably not the greatest piece of engineering that Nerf could have put together. We have ourselves the Lightning bow, however, and let's just say it's a whole different story. And how do I feel about this blaster entirely? Well, let's go ahead and test it out. To operate this blaster is as simple as gripping onto the grip right here, which has a nice handguard fitted with a Mega placard that is situated vertically, like so. Not to mention a Lightning bow placard on the side, along with a few Nerf logos that you can spot throughout the blaster. But it's as simple as holding on to that and tugging this string, which has an orange piece attached to it, so it acts like a guide to showcase exactly where you're supposed to pull it back on. So you pull it back like this, and well, just let go to fire. Wow. I actually do feel like that this actually might do better. Well, I got a couple more darts here to demonstrate with. So I guess before I fire again, let's go ahead and talk about a few things right here. This blaster, as you can pretty much tell, is pretty much in used condition. There's a few notable marks on here, including right here and all that good stuff. That's just kind of what happens when you rush order from eBay in order to pick these things up and give them proper reviews and all that. Used condition or not though, this blaster actually does seem to be working just fine. But let's go ahead and mention a few things right here. When it comes to bow blasters, the string might seem like it's durable. Well, that's another issue in its own right. I'll touch up on that later, but the string here might seem like it's durable, but what could happen at some point is that this thing could come across probably a blade, or even worse. And what could happen then is that the string would become completely cut off from the rest of the blaster. And when a string is severed, well, you cannot use a bow blaster anymore. If you were to use this as your primary weapon or use this for a long period of time, and then at some point, bam, it completely snaps, either from continuous usage or from something coming into contact with it, such as a blade or even a flame tip from a blowtorch. I don't really see the possibility of that happening unless you're very clumsy, but in any way that you see this, well, it's just a bit of a problem in its own way. Bow blasters don't necessarily tend to be as good as actual blasters, like the Contractor and Trailblazer. So I'll get to that at some point. But anyways, what we got here is we got another dart loaded into the barrel up front. Time to draw and fire. Well, I feel like that, yeah. I mentioned before that it's not the greatest, but the reason why I say that is because, well, it's not just the string you have to worry about, but this piece right here. So when I was testing this some time ago, when I first picked this thing up from eBay, as I mentioned earlier, this piece was colliding with my hand. I'm not joking. This is one of several known instances of a Nerf blaster deliberately injuring you in order to function properly. And that is a really big shame. I mean, it's certainly not the first time that I've ever had my own injuries just from proper normal usage of a Nerf blaster. So Ultra 3 doesn't count, by the way, if that's what you're thinking. So what I got here to show is simply a blaster that's actually injured my hands. This piece snaps forward and literally collides with my hand like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and see if I can actually do this. So, oh wow, 3 times in a row. And it didn't even hit my hand, so you know what? I don't know. it's probably just a fluke that somehow that this piece is injuring me for that reason. It's leaving little red marks every time I use this blaster. And we also can't forget about the other important details on this. The arms themselves have nice rigid plastic, despite being sort of thin. It's very, very rigid. When I say that it's rigid, I mean, just, you could try to put this thing through a compactor even, and it probably wouldn't do a whole lot. Then, of course, you have these pieces, which act as the conduits for the string itself. And so, that's pretty much what that is. And these strings do sit on a few springs that are used. Oh, gosh! Oh my, yeah, that's, right on the thumbnail. On my hand, of course, not the YouTube video. Oh man, that hit hard. Oh man, gosh, that hurt really bad. Oh my gosh. Like, that's not even a joke. I'm pretty sure other people might have had this issue too, because this is a very belated review out there on my YouTube channel. 9 years after this thing got released, and it still hurts my hand. Well, then again, since I bought it years after it was released, and have kept this thing around even to this very day, I don't know what else I could possibly say about it. So, yeah. So, let's just... it's right in the knuckle. Well, at least that wasn't as hard or as painful as it was hitting the thumbnail. Man, how is that still hurting? Well, anyways, this is the issue that I was talking about here. If you draw back like normal, like so, that's... Oh my gosh, I gotta stop doing that, sorry. That's exactly what's gonna happen to you. And I'm sure that there's other bow blasters that have done the same exact thing. There's been a lot of bow blasters I've used over the years. This is just one of those that apparently has to hurt you to function properly. If you go like this, it doesn't do nothing. So, and that's because there is in fact a function where the plunger tube gets pulled back if you pull it all the way backwards. When you pull it back slightly, well, you can't really feel the plunger pulling back. So, even pulling it back a tiny little bit just so it doesn't hit your hand in any possible way is just the thing about it. You have to pull it back all the way so it has the highest chance of slapping forward and hitting you right in the hand. That's gripping onto the blaster. Well, then again, I could just try it like this, but unfortunately, it doesn't really stabilize quite well as much as it does like so. But I really have to hand it to you, though. A mega bow. The Thunder Bow, honestly, was a little bit better than this. And this right here is a fatal flaw. A product of Nerf deliberately injures you just so it can function properly. And that's just that. So, if you want to see more, go down to my channel, then make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, follow me on social media, and stay on the Hollywood side.